Hello lovelies, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we'll be making use of our pattern paper because of the style, and my pattern paper is white just like my table, but please pay attention, you will get what we are doing as we go on. So the first thing I mark is just a line so that you guys can see where is our measurement started from. That will serve as our shoulder line. So from that line I took my half length at 13 inches, then I added 1 inch allowance for joining. And this gown is for a 7 to 8 year old girl or baby or whichever. Then I went ahead to take my neckline, and I want a wider neckline, which is I took for the width 3 inches, and then for the depth I took 3 inches as well. So I'm going to go ahead and make a curve to connect the line. So once I am done with that, I'm going to go ahead and take half of my shoulder measurement, which is at 12 inches. You can as well go ahead and add about ½ inch for turning the sleeve, and then that same 6 inches is what I went down with for my armhole depth, and I'm going just connecting the points that I just made. Then the next thing I did is to take my shoulder measurement at 1 inch. If your child is a bit smaller, please go ahead and take 0.75, and then I connected it to my neckline or my shoulder line, whichever. Then the next thing I did is to take my bust measurement divided by 4, and I added 1.5 inches for stitching allowance. And then I'm going to measure from my bust to my shoulder slant. I'm going to measure whatever I have there. I divided it into 2 and make a point there. And then at that point that I just made, I'm going in by 0.25, and then I'll make a point there. So I'm going to be connecting my bust measurement to the 0.5 inches that I marked, and then to the shoulder slant I marked. I'm sorry for all the noise you guys can hear. School is on holiday now, so sometimes you might hear 1 or 2 noise. So once I made a curve, I'm going to go ahead and then insert my waist measurement divided by 4. Then I'm going to add 1.5 inches allowance, and I'll connect it to my bust point. This child, the waist measurement and the bust measurement is the same, which is normally the same width when it comes to children. So that's all for the front bodice. If you haven't subscribed up to this moment, please hit on the subscribe button, join the growing family. And to my old subscribers, I say thank you very much for all your support. So we're going to go ahead and transfer this to another pattern paper so that we can cut out the back bodice. I decided to cut it differently today for those that do not understand the pattern of cutting it the same. So I just marked a straight line to serve as our zipper allowance. I have about 1.5 inches for our zipper allowance. You can reduce it to 1 inch if you want. And I pinned the paper and the pattern paper together. I'm just marking a straight line to know where my starting point for my measurement started, so I can take my back measurement. And then for the back, I went down by 1.5 inches. Remember I said I want a wide neckline, so I just extended it to my zipper allowance, and I'm going to go ahead and make a curve for the back neckline. And every other part will be the same. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. But for the armhole area, remember we went in by 0.5 inches, so I'm going to replace it for the back one. It's not going to go in like the front one. That's what I just replaced, and then I cut it out. I'm going to go ahead and cut the design on the front part. For this design, by the end of the video, if you feel that it's higher than you want, please go ahead and go down more while stitching yours. So I went down by 5.5 inches for mine, and I'm going to go ahead and make a straight line there. I did the same thing for the back one. I went down by 5.5 inches for the back as well. So this is it. After cutting, I've transferred it to my pattern paper. Okay, I cut out my lining before the reduce before cutting that 5.5 inches. So I'm using the same fabric for my lining. So please cut out your lining before dividing the fabric. And you can see I added 1.5 inch, sorry, on the upper side of the lower bodice, and then the lower part of the upper bodice of the yoke. I hope you understand this. So I just added 0.5 inches to be able to join the two pieces. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove all the pins so that we can go ahead and join this together. Please do not make a mistake of not adding stitching allowance on the two upper side where you have to join. If you do not do it, it's going to reduce your measurements. So the next thing I'm going to do is to put all these two fabrics together and then pin it down. Just like I always say, you can stitch this down without pinning it down, but to tell you the truth, pinning it down is a lot easier to work with. So I'll pin this down and also pin the back bodice down before going ahead to stitch it. So I'll stitch it by 0.5 inches that I added, or by how much inches that you added, and I'll do the same thing for the other side. So this is it. After I was done stitching it down, I'm going to go ahead and remove all my pins. The secret of this is to use a very bright color for where I have my green, and then the other one I use a less bright color there. Just like you see, that's how to get yours to match. So this is my lining, and like I said, I'm going to be using the same fabric for my lining. You can use your normal lining for yours, but for me, I am using the same fabric. So all I'm going to do is to arrange it front facing front, and then start pinning it down at my neckline. I'll pin all around and then pin at my armhole as well. And then I'll do the same thing for the other armhole. Once I am done pinning it, I'm going to go ahead and stitch it down, stitch the armhole, and then stitch my neckline. And also go ahead and do the same thing for the back bodice. I'm going to do front facing front, arranging it well, making sure it matches, and then pin it down at the armhole and at the neckline, and then stitch it down. And then for the rope for our belt, I already cut it out. For the length of this, I have about 20 inches, and then for the width, I have about 4 inches. So what I'm going to do is to close this up and then stitch from one end to the other, and I'll be leaving one end open. I'll be leaving this end open to turn it inside out, and I'll do the same thing for the other side. So I went ahead to slant the plate, the other side. I stitched down just to give it a design. So to turn it inside out, I'm just using my scissors to hold it. I'm not cutting open, just using my scissors to hold it, and then I'm going to go ahead and wear this over the scissors. And once I wear it over the scissors, I'm going to start pulling it backward, just like you see me do. I'll keep on doing this till I get to the end of the fabric, or of this piece. Once I get to the end of the piece, I will go ahead and open this and bring it out from the other side, and then try to push out all the pointed parts. So I went ahead and iron it down, as you guys can see. Then onto our bodies, I am done stitching it down. You can see I'm just going to go ahead and notch the armhole area and also the neckline. And I'll do the same thing for the other side before turning it inside out. And I'll do the same thing for the back one. I'll notch the armhole, notch the neckline, and then turn it inside out. So this is it. I've gone ahead to iron this down to make sure everything is flat and looking nice. So we are going to go ahead and join our shoulder. At this point, if you want, you can stitch it down just the way it is, that front facing front, and then stitch it down. But for me, I'm going to be turning my shoulder inside out. So you place your back and the front bodies front facing front, and then you open up your lining, put from the back side, put your hand through the lining, and then flip it over. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm trying to say, but I'm going to repeat this on a closer range or a more clearer view so that you can see what I did there. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this down. Once I am done pinning it down, I'm going to go ahead to my sewing machine and stitch it down. But hold on, we are going to do it again so that you understand what I am trying to say. So let's try it for the other side. You see, I'm placing it front facing front, and then I opened up my back neckline, put my hand in between my back, and then bring out all the shoulders, all the four shoulders out to the wrong side of the back. I hope you understand this now. Just watch the video, you understand it more. And then once I am done flipping it to the wrong side, I'm going to make sure that the edge of the two neckline and also the armhole are matching. And then I'm going to go ahead and pin this down before going to my sewing machine to stitch it down. And then for the remaining parts of the gather style, what I did is to deduct 6 inches from the remaining part of the gather, and then added 2 inches for hemming, and then to attach it to the upper side. So I'm going to be using 1.5 inches to hem it. And then for the upper side, I added 1 inch for stitching allowance to be able to join this to the bodice and then join the other side to the other fabric. I hope you understand this. What I am saying here. So I'm going to go ahead and hem this by 1.5 inches and then stitch it all around. And then for this also upper side, I'm going to run a loose stitch there to gather it. So this is my bodice after I was done stitching it down. I'm going to go ahead and remove the pin so that you guys can see how it looks, and I'll flip it to the right side. You can see how it looks. These two shoulders are closed or neat, or you can see the rough edges. And I did the same thing for the other side. You can see how it is now. It's more professional than, or whichever that works for you. All you have to do is to stitch it. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to place this front facing front, and then I'm going to go ahead and stitch it down. Remember, we added 1.5 inches for okay, before we start stitching for our belt, we are going to put our belt in between the front and the back bodies. Remember, we are going to still add our gathers there, so you make sure you move away from your hemming side so that it doesn't affect it when you want to add your gathers. So I'll go ahead and pin this down, and I'll do the same thing for the other side. I'll move away from the waistline, place the belt in between the front and the back bodies, and then pin it down. Once I am done with it, remember we added 1.5 stitching allowance. That's what I am going to be using to stitch this down. So this is it after I was done stitching it down. You can see that the belt is in between these. Please, while stitching it down, when you get to the belt, make sure you stitch it more, because this is children, they can pull it and it comes out easily. So stitch it more. I'm just measuring my waistline to know how much I'm going to be gathering my fabric. And my fabric, remember, I'm not going to gather my zipper allowance. So this is it after I was done gathering it. I think my waistline, not even I think my waistline is 28 inches. So I gathered my fabric to have the length of 28 inches. Remember, my zipper allowance is not included. So the next thing I'm going to do is to place my bodice on my gathers, front facing front. Please remember to move your belt away so that you don't stitch on it and then start losing it again. And then I'm going to stitch it from one end to the other end. And this is it after I was done stitching it down. We are almost done. Look at how beautiful it is. So this is what I was saying. If you feel that the 5.5 inches we took out is too high for you, go ahead and go down more to give you what you want. So the next thing I'm going to do is to close up my zipper allowance and then attach my zip. Please, while attaching your zip, make sure that the two places that we have different fabrics is matching each other. You don't want one to be higher than one or one to be lower than one, whichever. And that's basically all for this style. You see how beautiful it is. I hope the fabric I use, the combined fabric I use match is beautiful as well. What do you think? Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to this channel, give me a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.